The final ever episode of Outlander has just landed on our screens, and boy, what an emotional ending that was. If the original title sequence song didn't get you, Jamie's speech to Claire about how he wanted her to remember him if he died didn't get you, then it was definitely Claire being in pieces as Jamie laid there on the ground. For a season that's had its ups and downs, I don't think they actually could have pulled off a better ending than what we received. After 12 years, the show has now come to an end, and this episode marked the story's closure. So with that, I wanted to discuss the burning questions that we were left with, such as if Jamie did actually die, did he lead Claire there the entire time, and answer what the ending truly means. So let's get into it. Here is Outlander Season 8 Episode 10, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The Ending Explained. One of the main questions at the end of Outlander was, what did the ending truly mean? Well, I actually think there are a couple of different ways that it can be interpreted. First off, with Jamie knowing full well that he was going to die at the Battle of King's Mountain due to Frank's book telling him that it would happen, with Jamie believing that he'd survived the battle and Ferguson's sword, both him and Claire were relieved. However, when Jamie went to see Ferguson and get his surrender, that was when he pulled out his gun and fired at Jamie, which hit him in his heart and it caused him to begin to die. A moment that had me with my hands over my eyes because I was devastated. This then led Claire to run to him as she stayed with him as he died. Claire refused to leave Jamie and didn't bury him or have a priest give a ceremony, which essentially meant that he was stuck in Purgatory. As he was in this state, whilst Claire was lying alongside him, we saw a montage of moments that occurred throughout Jamie and Claire's time together, which not only symbolised that it was their story that was being told, but it reinforced the love that they had for one another and that it was quite literally a love story like no other. Jamie's life was essentially flashing before his eyes. When Claire let go of Jamie and just laid alongside him, we saw it go forward in time and Jamie was seen to be standing there watching Claire. This connected to what Jamie said earlier on in the episode where he mentioned that being a ghost could be quite fun and that he'd like to check in on people from time to time. This is exactly what Jamie was doing in this moment. When Jamie was in Purgatory, time didn't move in a linear fashion, so he was able to walk through different elements of time and visit Claire at points where he didn't even know her. This is why he was able to vanish the moment that Frank called out to him and turned around to look at him, because he was a ghost and he was able to just leave. What this also showed us was that when he was at Craig Nadar before she ever went there, he was the person that caused the pretty blue flowers that she loved to be on the ground that Claire spoke of earlier, which is what ultimately led her to go through the stones and for their entire love story to begin. It was always Jamie and they were always destined to be together. This does make the timeline a bit confusing, but the important thing to take away from it is that Jamie was basically the entire reason why Claire ended up there because of what happened in the form of when he was a ghost. At least that's how I interpreted it. The timeline can be confusing in this show, and it has the right to be because it's quite literally about time travel, so it's never straightforward, and the ending does make sense if you do look at it like that. The other burning question at the end of the show is, did Jamie end up surviving? Well, the final thing that we saw was about half a second of Jamie and Claire opening up their eyes together as they laid there and they both released a gasp of air. This was before it cut to black and the credits started rolling. One thing to also take note of here is that Claire's hair was completely white. This is something that actually connects all the way back to season 4 of the show and also earlier on in the season when Claire used her powers of resurrection. The love that Claire and Jamie have for one another is extremely strong, and as we know, Claire has the ability to not only heal, but to bring life back from the dead. This is what I believe we saw occurring at this moment. I think Claire utilized her powers to be able to bring Jamie back from the dead. The reason for Claire's hair being completely white is because in season 4, she was told that when she reached her full potential and her most powerful, her hair would be completely white, and this is exactly what we saw here. In the early part of the season, we saw her gain a white streak in her hair, which was due to the fact that she grew stronger, but with her getting a full head of white hair, that meant that she was now at her strongest. I also kind of interpreted it as Claire giving something away in order to gain more time with Jamie. It was almost as if she'd aged slightly, showing that even though she has those powers there, there's a cost that it comes at. She'd brought back an infant before, but bringing back a fully grown adult male was something that must have required more power. We all knew that Claire was a healer, and there was always a part of me that predicted her being able to bring him back to life, but it was executed so beautifully. With both Jamie and Claire being alive at the end of the season, technically, history wasn't rewritten because he didn't die, which was the thing that Claire always said couldn't be done, but it showed that Jamie was always a part of the history and had a hand in writing the story that was unfolding. With them both being alive and us only getting a glimpse of it, it means that we got to see a happy ending for Jamie and Claire. It would have been sad if Jamie did die and was gone for good, so I'm pleased that one of the longest running love stories in recent times got the ending that it deserved. Or one other theory about how the ending could be interpreted is that basically Jamie was wandering around Purgatory for all of that time, and when they both woke up at the end, it was at the time where Claire naturally died, hence why they both woke up at the same time and gasped. Jamie was now in heaven with the love of his life. That's definitely one way that it can be interpreted, but I do think the white hair definitely symbolizes Claire utilizing her powers and reaching her full potential, ultimately bringing Jamie back. My review of the episode. I thought this was a strong episode of the show. Overall, this season has had its ups and downs, especially when it came to some stories feeling pointless, but this episode made me forget about those and focus on just how beautifully set up the ending was. I loved the intricacies and the fact that Jamie essentially waited a couple of 100 years in Purgatory for Claire and caused the ripple effect in events in time for her to be led back to him all of those years later. It's essentially a timeless love story and it was so emotional. From the moment that this episode opened up, it was laced with emotion. Whether it be the original title sequence song that took it right the way back, whether it be the sheer amount of goodbyes that Jamie was giving, the war cries that were being emitted, or even the words, "Remember me," that he said to Claire. I think the weight of Jamie's potential death was always at the forefront, but I also think the fact that a show that we've committed this large amount of time to over the years coming to an end was something that never really dawned on me until now. We might never see Jamie and Claire again, and that in itself is actually quite sad. If I'm being honest, the first third of the episode where Jamie was saying goodbye to everybody was something that I did get a bit fed up with. It was emotional to start with, but it just dragged a little bit too long, and I don't think we needed to see as much of it. However, when Jamie mentioned the 3 things that he wanted Claire to do, that was extremely powerful and emotional. I also thought having Francis crying again just made me roll my eyes. I just don't understand why the showrunners make her cry at every opportunity that they get. The battle scenes in this episode were really good. I don't think they beat the Battle of Monmouth or Saratoga from Season 7, but it was still up there. When Claire was running up the hill to the top of King's Mountain and avoiding people and shots being fired her way, the struggle and reality of the battle felt all too real. When Claire felt her heart go when Jamie received a shot to it, the facial expressions that she had and the fact that we almost saw her celebrating that Jamie was safe not only had me feeling upset after just celebrating that Jamie survived the battle, but I truly felt the pain that she was in. The overkill that Ferguson received and that blow that Ian delivered was something that you could tell had the weight of the world behind it and was laced with anger because of how much he loved his uncle. The ending to Outlander felt poetic, and I'd say that the show always had the fans in its mind in the writing. I love the fact that they thanked us fans before the credits too. It just confirmed that it showed that they truly did care about the people that watched it, something that doesn't feel that prominent in some shows these days. I also thought the post-credits scene was a nice touch where we saw Claire's journal next to the actual author of Outlander, Diana Gabaldon, as a nod to the fact that she had Claire and Jamie's story alongside her all along. Outlander delivered an ending that was perfect in my opinion. Perfect considering they had to steer away from the books because the books haven't even ended yet. Perfect in the sense that they did a service to the fans, and perfect in the way that Claire and Jamie's love story got the happy ending that it deserved. It's been a pleasure watching Outlander, and I hope one day we can visit that world again. Before I end the video, I do just want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned into the videos over the course of the past few years that I've been covering the show. I can't believe the show's come to an end, and I'm sad that it has because it is a real good one. So, there you have it, Outlander Season 8 Episode 10, Ending Explained.